Hi, how's it going? This is Resident of Collinwood for YouTube, back with another Dark Shadows video for you guys and gals. I'm here to do a character retrospective. It's Maggie Evans. Now, Maggie Evans is a young woman you first meet working at the Collinsport restaurant, which is right in the same building as the hotel. It's actually right across from the hotel, like right next to it. Literally, it's like right now. It's a walk. Like you walk from one room to the other. That's how small of a town Collinsport, Maine is. Fictionally, of course. Now you may notice if you've ever met the character of Maggie Evans, played by actress Kathleen Lee Scott, you'll notice the blonde hair. That's a wig. It's going to come off in other episodes. Maggie Evans, what kind of young woman is she? She's very sassy. She's very direct, and she loves her town gossip. Not, and she loves spreading town gossip too. And she's not the only one. Uh, her father, Sam, Sarah Johnson. I would say what's different about Maggie most is she warns people, hey, you need to be careful, especially to Victoria Winters. In fact, her interactions with Victoria Winters is, you're a jerk. She calls Victoria a jerk because she heard from this person, that person, that you're going to work for the Collins family. Yeah, we'll take one good look at that hair, sister, because it's going to turn a shade of gray when you go up there. And Vicky says, you make it sound like there's chains rattling around every corner. You think that's wrong? You know, I've heard stories of Rocky from here back to the railroad. I'd rather you not tell them to me. So Maggie is a real spitfire. I mean, she's very sassy. Her interactions with Burke are very much kind of similar, but in a different tone. She's sassy. She's directive. She goes and she says, "If you don't say how I've grown, I'm gonna, knock you on." It's really cool how she's very direct. I've often, looked at Maggie and her relationship with her father, Sam Evans, and I would say when as I'm going through the Phoenix arc, and I haven't done an episode in a while, guys, so I apologize. When I look at the Phoenix arc, and I notice that there's an episode where Sam grabs Maggie by the arms to sort of get her attention. Did you get any information for me? And it kind of like jarred me a bit because I was like, wait a second. Does Sam kind of like hit Maggie at all? You never see it, but Maggie was kind of fearful when her father grabbed her like that. Dad, what are you doing? I'm not saying he grabs her anywhere inappropriate. He grabs her on the arms. Um, I forgot. I told you guys that drop the wig they do, and you see Catherine Lee Scott's beautiful hair, her real hair, not no fake hair, which you're going to see later uh, in color eventually. I love how, though Maggie Evans is sassy, she's slowly learning that her father, ever since Burt Devlin's return, has been acting very cagey. She questions her father. He tells her, let it alone. It's nothing. It's no big deal. He leaves her a note and puts it in Mr. Wells, which Mr. Wells tells Sam, hey, those the only person who can take out this letter is Maggie. That's who you addressed it to. Um, he goes, "What's my letter?" Well, it's for Maggie, though. So we can't get the letter back now. What I love most about Maggie too is her attention to detail about the boats when she interacts with Joe Hastel. This is after the breakup of Carolyn and Joe. She begins flirting with Joe. They eventually begin dating. When Maggie finds out about her father's truth, that he did not come forward and tell the judge what he really saw, she forgives him. You know, because as she told her father before, we'll lick them all. This is a woman who definitely supports her dad and loves him very much. This is not love that's bought and paid for. Despite some of their tensions between the two of them, she doesn't. What Maggie's most concerned is with her dad is his drinking, that he drinks a lot. for a guy who's this great artist, and she knows he is, he drinks heavily. And she wonders, if he'll get home, sober. He yells at her when he has somebody check on him, when she has someone check on him, or she checks on him. He does not like that, Sam, at all. So, but you do learn with all the yelling, with all the chaos, these two have a very strong bond and relationship. And I think it even strengthens further in the Phoenix arc. The one thing I would say too is nobody seems to believe Sam Evans. Even at first, Maggie doubts. At first, she thought her father lit the cigarette, didn't put out the lit cigarette. The only person who believes really Sam Evans is Dr. Peter Guthrie. So you have that interesting sort of dynamic there. What I love most about Maggie too in this sort of early her relationship with Joe, it seems like it's going somewhere, or at least the writers are taking somewhere. It does develop very quickly, I will say, halfway, during the Phoenix arc. You could tell that Maggie and Joe are a great fit for one another. That is, sorry, that is until Barnabas arrives. Some weird things start happening when our buddy Barnabas shows up. Farm life starts to get, their blood drained from them. Somebody takes a baby calf. Uh, Joe Haskell tells, Maggie Evans and Burke Devlin the story. Keep in mind, Burke is now back to being friendly with Maggie there because Sam has admitted the truth that it was Roger driving the car. Um, yes, Sam admitted the truth. So when Joe Haskell tells them this story, it's shocking to Maggie and Burke Devlin. And then when one night, Maggie Evans is working a coffee shop. There's no reflection in the mirror, but a man does appear beside her, and that man is Barnabas Collins. And now people are saying, wait, Kathleen Lee Scott came out as the Joseph Gosette. Yes, you are correct. If you have said that, you are 1,000% correct. But let me tell you something right now. They do not address it in this show at all before Barnabas kidnaps Maggie. In fact, I don't think they address it later either. The only people to really kind of address it later, I would say, is post 1795. That's the really first time I think it gets, well, actually, sort of before, because Vicky sees Josette in 1795, looks like Maggie Evans. So, and then it gets readdressed in 1795. So, not till 1795, this does not get addressed. So when Barnabas kidnaps Maggie um, and shows her the time of her life, I'm joking. He puts her through hell. Um, he locks her in the basement because she refuses to be Josette. And she says, "My name is Maggie Evans," which I love that because keep in mind, mentally, she's been through a lot. She's seen that a coffin has been built for her. She's been strangled. This woman is being intimidated, bitten, drained of blood a bit. She's been through the ringer with Barnabas. And all to say, hey, my name is Maggie Evans, who closes that lid box of Josette's music box as powerful as hell. I will say that one of the biggest moments here is Maggie meeting Sarah. This is who we meet Sarah through, is Maggie Evans. Sarah is the ghost of Barnabas. Well, it is Barnabas' sister, but it's the ghost of Barnabas' sister. She's not alive. She was at one point, and it's Sarah who helps Maggie escape from Barnabas by showing her a secret entrance. Maggie is out of her mind in Cliff, clearly. She's sinning London Bridge is falling down what Sarah was sinning. And then you have Dr. Julia Hoffman who does make good progression, But here's what nobody knows is Dr. Julia Hoffman has her own goals, her own sort of, we'll say, not just goals, but what's the word? Vision. Um, she has her own motives. There you go. Hold on. Catherine Lee Scott's character, Maggie Evans, does get out of Wincliffe once again with the help of Sarah. This is after Dr. Julie Hoffman has gone into Collinsport under the guise of a history, someone who's writing the history of the families of New England, uh, only to come face to face with Barnabas Collins, who she now knows is a vampire. She did the whole compact mirror thing. She knows he's a vampire. Um, and he visits her and she goes, I can help you. I can give you, these treatments. Medicine, modern science could help you. At least that's what she believes. Barnabas is sold on the idea. Maggie's escape from Wincliffe is shocking. In the Blue Whale, you have Barnabas, you have Victoria Winters, you have um, Burke Devlin, you have a whole room, like a whole full crew of people in the Blue Whale, and Maggie Evans walks in, and Barnabas is like, "Oh shit!" He is sweating bullets. She doesn't ID him as her attacker, but she does faint. I do like what Barnabas says in this sequence. He does say, well, we've all been hoaxed. We've all been lied to. And, you know, I mean, Barnabas kind of knew Maggie was alive, so by Dr. Julia Hoffman. So she told him. So he knew that already. But I do like that he says it because he acts surprised. He says it as a matter of fact tone, and it's still shocking no matter who says it. But the fact that Barnabas says it is all the more cooler. So there's a lot of things that happen with Maggie post 1795. Obviously, they're going to write Victoria Winters off the show. You notice how I jumped there? I mean, because really what's going on with Maggie before 1795, Hoffman is hypnotizing her, making sure she doesn't remember and stuff. But Barnabas and Hoffman get into lots of arguments, disagreements, disputes. Barnabas then realizes, he can't trust Julie anymore because of the death of Dr. Dave Woodard. After that, she was not happy with him. So, post 1795, Maggie Evans is really interesting. So, their plot for Maggie Evans before they put her in the Great House, because I know that's what everybody remembers, and I understand why. You got to understand, she loses her boyfriend because he was bitten by a vampire. He wasn't taken away. He was also attacked by a werewolf. Again, Tom and Chris Jennings. So you have that go on. Uh, Maggie and Joe kind of break up. They kind of don't stop seeing each other. And Joe Haskell's written off the show. Joel Carruthers' character. It's a sad moment, but Maggie, you kind of wondered what were they going to do with Maggie at this point. She lost her father now. Keep in mind, Sam dies during uh, dies during the dream sequence. He's eventually killed. He eventually dies. Sorry, I should say. But the dream sequence. So, and then her boyfriend is sent to Wincliffe Sanitarium because Julie and Barnabas are going to protect Chris. They label him as crazy, so they send him to Wincliffe. This is where Maggie goes into the great house. She becomes sort of the new governess and that. And I will say, this is a woman who, though she wasn't afraid to step in that house, she didn't seem to be like raising her hand, like, oh, I want to step in that house. Um, oh, I forgot to mention, I do, when Alexandra's Victoria Winters was around, I do love the friendship between Maggie and, um, so they put Maggie in the house. The 1897 storyline is going to slowly, whatever they're gonna torture Maggie. What I will say most, Catherine Lee Scott, for all of the characters' early sassiness, people, my buddy Patrick McCray, shout out, he once asked me what character grew the most, and I said Willie Loomis. But I would say a character that writes behind him is Catherine Lee Scott's Maggie, because she goes through so much and keeps going through so much. Uh, so you have, again, you have this woman now. She's the tutor and governess of David and Amy. It's not just one kid; it's two now. She's getting her feet held to the fire by Miss Johnson. Oh, if Miss Winters here, she'd make them kids do their schoolwork. Meaning the kids are too distracted with other things. That's what the whole premise of 1897 is. Um, is she a witch? Is Maggie Evans a witch? No, no. She's not. Um, I will say too that Maggie, she does. I said she gets put through a lot. The kids put her through a lot. 1897. We She doesn't play Maggie Evans in 1897. She plays Rachel and Kitty Simpson. Uh, when we come back, she's she's still very much going to be playing your damsel in distress, your victim. It's her turn to sort of be the damsel, as where Vicky was the damsel in distress. Um, I think you get more of it with Maggie. I think in the Barnabas post 1795. But Victoria's done more in Ghost, early in the episode 1795, all that stuff. So, but Catherine Lee Scott's Maggie Evans is damn sure a damsel. Also in distress. Also, Nicholas Blair trying to get his moves on with Maggie Evans, and the devil using a Maggie Evans as a teleportation. You need to quit trying to make out with your girlfriend and basically get to work. Oh my god, that's funny. That's funny. My favorite part, because there's a part where Maggie remembers Barnabas kidnapping her when Barnabas, uh, when she gets free. The whole Adam and Eve thing. Maggie's still alive, trying to give Eve her life force, and Maggie remembers what Barnabas did to her, but she never goes to the police. It's because Maggie has moved on from it. Maggie has chosen to bury it in her subconscious. During the Leviathan arcs, Maggie is once again a damsel. Uh, I mean, she's tormented by the Leviathan kids in the house. She's dealing with that. She's got to work with these kids, and eventually, well, Maggie was kidnapped by a vampire before. She's going to get, bothered by Roxanne eventually. This is going to send her to Wincliffe Sanitarium. I love the character of Maggie Evans as a character as a whole. She has some very powerful moments. Is she a better damsel than Victoria Winters? At times, there's moments she is, because her damsel in distress. is literally the supernatural. And there's at times nobody really is helping her through it to a degree. It's more just like she's left her own device. It's like, what are they going to do here? Which is interesting. Um, so yeah, yeah. My gosh, what a character! She's again, she's such a spitfire, right? So, I hope you guys enjoyed this character retrospective. You guys have a great night.